My name is Cheryl Erickson, and I'm the Indigenous focused ECE instructor with Louis Riel Vocational College. Today in Guidance 1, we're going to review Chapter 15, which is a summary of the strategies we've talked about throughout this entire course regarding guiding children. But before I get started, just a reminder to read Chapter 15, as this video is not a replacement for reading your chapters. So your textbook doesn't give you a recipe or no-fail, so to speak, practices or a complete step-by-step scenario of how you can go about changing behaviors or guiding children to correct behaviors. Basically, what it gives you is some strategies, and you as an ECE or a team of ECEs are going to have to do your observations and look at your child individually to figure out what exactly would work best in your particular situation to change behaviors. You're going to have to use your own judgment, set your own goals, really think about choosing your battles, so to speak, with a child. And often when it comes to behaviors, a child may have more than one behavior. Set your goal and determine what behavior you want to change first, and then go from there. Also keep in mind with any type of discipline, guidance, it should be done in the most positive way, not causing any harm to a child's self-esteem or moral autonomy. So you want them to develop a really good sense of moral autonomy and what is right and what is wrong, while still allowing them to develop a really good, strong self-concept and setting them up for success. So we don't want any rewards or punishment or other practices that are going to really work against your goals. Nothing good is going to come out of punishing a child and making them feel badly, as well as we know that reward systems aren't effective. They aren't an effective way to change a behavior. So you really want to think about what your strategies are going to be that are going to best help teach a child to do something correctly. So we have discussed, many different scenarios regarding why a child may be behaving the way they are. We've looked at the environment. We've looked at unmet needs. We've looked at things like violence and child abuse. But I just wanted to do another reminder that sometimes as adults we can cause some of the problems and make the problems even worse. By how we're managing those situations. So, if you don't have a good understanding of children and their development, you're going to have some unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations can make children very frustrated. If they can't achieve something, they're going to get frustrated and they're going to feel badly about themselves. So know what is age appropriate. Understand that it's a normal part of development. Also to look at not only what the age of the child is, but where they are developmentally, because not all children, when they reach a certain age, know how to do specific things. So every child you need to consider is a unique individual, and they're developing at their own pace. The discipline approach is going to be the most effective in the situations that you're going to deal with, especially when you have a good attitude about it and your expectations are appropriate for that particular child. Some children as well, are missing skills, and developmentally, they just don't, they haven't achieved a certain skill, and because of that, they may not understand, and that's why they may be behaving the way they are. So children may lack physical, intellectual, social, or emotional, or we have the acronym of PIES. That falls under, and if these skills haven't been developed in each individual one, physical meaning they don't have control over their body. They could be impulsive, they could bang into somebody because their coordination is a little bit off, and behaviors will come out of that. And so just knowing that developmentally that child is still learning those skills and they're still developing really explains why they behave the way they do. And so really we need to work to help them master skills, and that should be the focus rather than the behavior, because really it's out of their control. So our job is to learn what skills are still developing and help the child learn to master those skills, and we can help them learn through different activities that we can provide children during free play while they're in our care. Sometimes it's a lack of understanding, so children just don't understand. They just don't know why certain behaviors are necessary or desirable. So again, we need to teach them. Sometimes natural consequences work in that particular situation as a good teachable moment, and children learn, if I do this, then this happens, and I don't like it when that happens. So then their behavior is corrected. So we can also really work towards making sure that consequences are appropriate and are natural, because those types of natural consequences become more meaningful to the child. Unmet emotional needs, we talked about that as well, and there is a strong link to unmet emotional needs and why children behave the way they do. So when a child is capable of better behavior but is still acting out, really look deeply into the cause of that behavior. It could be something they're struggling with their self-esteem. In spite of damaging experiences, they're still trying to work at being self-reliant and developing that self-esteem, and that's resilience in a child. And resilience is a really important type of characteristic. So we want our children to be resilient, and we want them to develop that self-esteem and really good self-concept. So really intervene if you need to seek outside help, then absolutely take the steps to do that, because it's going to help meet that child's needs. Work at building those relationships too, because relationships are really important in making a child feel comfortable and gaining that sense of trust in trying to change those behaviors. Discipline does take time. You have to work at it. You have to be consistent. If you're not consistent, you're not going to ever change the pattern of behavior. So, effective discipline takes time, and it takes time for children to learn. So you don't immediately, put into practice of a discipline strategy and think that one time that you use it, that it's going to make a difference to that child. It won't. You need to usually do it on a repetitive, consistent basis in order for a child to understand. The more natural consequences, the better. Also allowing time for adults and child to cool down depending on the situation. Everybody needs their space. Everybody needs to digest what is happening. Cool down helps you refocus, and after you refocus, relax, take a few deep breaths, you're better able to communicate to the child what exactly it is that you need or want for them. And allowing the child to cool down and refocus will reset them as well. And they're able then to, I guess, absorb the information. They'll be in a better state of mind to cope better with that. So taking time to plan your strategy with your team, and when I say your team, it's going to be a collaborative effort with not only yourself, but the other caregivers that are interacting with the child. You want to be on the same page. You want to do a lot of documentation, discussions to talk about what goals you're going to set and what strategies that you're going to use with that child, and you're going to want to share that information with the parent as well, so they know what's happening. Keep in mind your environment needs to be safe. Children, first and foremost, have to be in a safe environment, and you need to make sure that no matter what strategy you're using, that the child's safety remains intact. So in different situations, you might have to react differently because of safety. And an example of that might be if a child is having some behavior problems and one of the things that they're doing is climbing on the furniture, and they climb on a shelf that's tippy. Your first reaction is going to be to move quickly to where they are and safely remove them, and then discipline accordingly. You can't not react quickly and remove them from that situation, because it could mean they fall or the shelf tips over and they could be injured. So there's certain, approaches and styles that you're going to have to deal with regarding the situation in order for children to be safe, but then learn a lesson. So we don't want to put them in danger. We want to make sure that safety and security aren't compromised. How do you evaluate as well your guidance program or your techniques is a really important tool. How do you know that the strategies you're using within your environment are effective? And so you need to establish some type of a system that is a guide to show, or an evaluation guide that you're going to be successful. Even if it's just a communication book where you're starting to log where the child is, if you're doing a problem-solving strategy and you're giving the child some tools to use, giving them words, and then you hear the child in a frustrating situation use a strategy that you've been consistently working with. That type of information needs to be documented for everybody to see, because that is a gain, that is a success story in itself, and that the child is starting to learn and understand. So if practice is put into place by the child, you know that they're starting to understand. And that is huge. So many programs for violence and prevention are aimed to manage behavior. We want to focus on the cause always of the behavior, and the cause, eliminating that cause or correcting it is going to stop those behaviors from happening. So we want to see that happening again. So if it's continuing, you're going to have to reevaluate the strategies that you're using. And if a child is being successful in strategies you're implementing, support them. Talk to them about that, because it's a really good thing. Praise them for the hard work in changing that behavior and working towards success. So that does conclude chapter 15 of your guidance textbook. Please do see your instructor if you have any questions, or if you or check in to ensure you haven't missed any assignments or handouts pertaining to chapter 15.